Hey everybody, Coach here. Hey, thanks for joining me every week as always. I appreciate your time and I hope I give you something that you can take away from it and learn just a little something. And if you haven't subscribed, give me a like, do something for this free educational advice that I dispense every week. Hey, this week we're talking about, does a well thought out, designed and planned and installed landscape convert a house to a home? And if so, why? That's what we're tackling this week. And I would love for you guys to drop a comment below and let me know how you feel about it. Have you had a new home where it was nothing but a dirt lot? And did it just feel more completed by the time you got the landscape done? Hey, it's time to launch, so let's get going. You know, professional opinion aside, I really believe to a certain extent, not, 100% all the time, but to a certain extent, I think it's the people that occupy the house that turn it into a home. But, like I said, not always. I think there's a certain level of that. And mainly that is if you stay indoors all the time and you stay on whatever durable surfaces like a driveway or a garage floor, whatever. But do you know that you can set up a nice lawn lounger chair out in the backyard full of dirt and weeds just as easy as you can putting it on a fancy stamped concrete patio? So, what does landscaping contribute to the completion of that house to home equation? So why does modern developed societies feel the need to ornament their areas around their homes? 2,000 years ago, they didn't. It was what was ever around at the time. Although, even then, they ornamented their landscapes with things that gave something back, like date palms, like other types of edibles that they, would take from one place into another. I mean, if you look at it, it is a very expensive adventure to do landscaping, even in the DIY sense. You're not talking hundreds of dollars, you're always talking thousands or tens of thousands, and I've seen seven-figure landscapes very easily. But what does it do to that house versus home conversion? It allows you to take what you have put indoors and enjoy yourself outdoors as well. If you have this brand new home and you've got new carpets and new flooring and oftentimes new appliances, and then you have nothing but dirt and weeds and then mud and then bugs, and you start traipsing that stuff inside, I'll guarantee you 100%, eventually there's going to be some friction. There's just going to be. So in that particular case, look what that developed landscape with cement walkways and grass and trees and shrubs and various functional areas out there. Now look what it does to that conversion. It takes that 5,000 square foot mansion set onto a dirt lot and it turns it into something. Now I hear all the time on YouTube and other, social platforms on how that a lot of people should go with native trees, native grasses, native shrubs, and all that kind of stuff. And in some applications, and I would hazard to guess less than 50%, most people will not like native landscapes. They ornamentally convert native shrubs into an ornamental arrangement in the landscape so it makes sense for the site and makes sense for them. But if you go out and look at some of the native landscapes in places, people are often going to say, that house is nothing but a pile of weeds. That's what native landscapes really are. They just evolve in the way that Mother Nature intended them, but not the way developed residential homeowners intend for them to be. Minimalistic? Yes, for sure. Absolutely. Will it cover the ground? In some cases it might. But native landscapes also have two big driving things. One is procreation, in other words, multiplying their species as fast as possible to dominate the area that they're in. And then also proliferation. In other words, spread it out there as far as you can. They do that through a myriad of things, mainly heavy-duty seed production, especially with grasses. So, natives aside, when does that house become a home? That landscape that you're putting together, it allows you, your family, your friends, your acquaintances, the neighbors, everybody to come into your home, say for an evening together. And weather permitting, you're able to go outside and enjoy what you've created out there in a clean, healthy environment without having to, kick off your shoes at the back door when you come in. And that is all part of being at home, not just at a house. We will also find various habits that we take from the inside and we convert it to the outside. It's just our nature, especially here in the States. If we have nice appliances inside, we're going to want to have nice trees and other things outside. It's just how we are. If you have nice flooring and carpets and hardwood floors and whatever, you want to have nice lawns out there. And if you have a nice garage or a separated garage, you may want to have a shop or a shed just to accommodate the other stuff that people tend to collect. And maybe you have a hobby shop, a she shed or a man cave, whatever. We tend to extend these comforts out of doors just to extend the enjoyment that we have on our own properties. And if you look at the functions and the vignettes that go on outside in a residential landscape, you have, just like your family room or your den or whatever, you have outdoor living areas that you need to create in order to extend that enjoyment outside. You also have storage areas, much like the garage. Hey, it might be a shed out back to take care of those other things. And for some of you, food production is becoming more and more important. And it's not always obtained at the store. And the stuff in the store, my gosh, if you look at the produce nowadays, you look at those little labels, a lot of them, some are still coming from the States, but a lot of them are South America. I had oranges the other day that were from South Africa. So you can grow your own food in your own backyard, and you can have a beautiful landscape to boot, intermixing those sustainable, harvestable plants right along with your ornamentals as well. So what's your first impression? Let's take an example. If you had a 6,000 square foot mansion and you plunked it in the middle of a lot, we'll say a 1 acre lot, and it's done to the nines on the inside. It looks kind of fancy on the outside, but it's plunked in the middle of a dirt lot. And all of the construction stuff has been cleaned up and hauled away, so it's just basically the house. And you may have a driveway, or it still may be construction gravel going in. What is your first impression as you drive by and see that? I'd love for you to tell me right below. My first impression is incomplete. It is incomplete. When are they going to do the rest of it? Because construction does not stop just because the paint is on the walls and the carpet is in the house. Construction extends outside, and you create your living environment around you to complement the dwelling that you have bought. You have a number of ways to approach this. Say, for instance, you're on a rural lot. A lot of people like to get out of the cities and even some of the crowded suburbs nowadays, and they want to go out onto acreage. And say you go find a 5 acre lot, you build a custom home, you plunk your house down on it, and now you have 5 acres to contend with. Now, hey, if you were that lucky guy in California that just hit the Powerball, you could landscape all 5 acres, no problem. But most of us are not going to do that. We're going to take a percentage around the building, around the dwelling, and develop it. And when you do that, you convert that house on a dusty lot to your home. Guaranteed. Your pride in ownership is going to increase. Your property value alone is going to increase. And you're going to give yourself those comfort areas outside that on those special mornings and those special days, you and your loved ones and everybody around you and your circle of influence is going to enjoy outdoors. And in some cases, which you're probably already aware of if you're in these circumstances, there is HOAs and CCRs and other things that you have to abide by in some residential developments. I have worked in many of them, and mostly, depending on the HOA board that is installed, and I have my own personal opinions about those, but you have to have at least your front yard landscape and certainly your backyard landscape within a short period of time after occupancy. And your design has to be approved, and you have to get going on construction pretty darn quick. Now, one of my first homes, I believe it was my third home that I lived in, it was the classic example of brand new house. Wow, I've made it. I live in a brand new home. But there was nothing outside, front or back. It was just dirt. And the CC&Rs that were present made me have to get on it. And so over the course of 4 months after occupancy, I began drawing stuff up and making plans to install a new landscape. And I had to modify quite a few things. You know, check out the side yard video that I'll put right up here from last week. I had to do exactly that as far as walkability. And I put in a second gate, I put in walkways all the way around, and I even got a surprise one time with the concrete finisher. I did all the forming, but the finisher I subcontracted with, great guy with a team of Samoans, but he had his truck arrive mid-afternoon, which is really kind of a no-no, especially in the cooler parts of the year. Yeah, we had a mid-afternoon to late afternoon pour, and it was supposed to be an exposed aggregate finish. Oh my God, they were back there at 2:30 in the morning doing the actual washing because it took that long. I'll never do exposed aggregate again, never. Another thing to consider is the cost factor. The longer you delay after getting into your new home or a new for you home, the longer you delay every single day, every single month, and marching forward, it will never be cheaper than it was today or yesterday. So you have to kind of get things drawn up, and you got to execute fairly quick in order to bring that house to a home condition. Even if it's in winter, you can still do some things unless you're 4 feet in snow. And if that's the case, you can at least plan stuff, you can schedule stuff, you can interview people, you can hire people, you can do whatever you want to do. You can't just sit on your laurels. So when all the snow is gone, bam, you're on it and you get done. One of the things that I saw more than once, but probably 3 times really stands out in my mind, and that is some smart people who had a little bit of forethought when they were building their own home. And in their construction loan, they rolled in all the cost of what landscape Coach was going to put in. And then when they had the house done, Coach was on site and doing his thing and wrapping that thing up. Then they went back to the bank and rolled that construction loan over to a conventional loan, and they moved forward with the refinancing. But it was done, and it was done one time, and it was cheaper than if they did it the following year, because maybe there was not enough of me around where you could hire people, or the cost of everything is increased. I can't imagine right now landscaping a 1 acre parcel, like one place I can remember, a 1 acre parcel today. The costs are so astronomical. It's gone up 35, 40% just since I was practicing. And that gets really expensive. Second most expensive construction project you can sink your teeth into is landscaping. So does a well thought out landscape one time, does it convert that house to a home? I say a resounding yes. It really does. It makes it feel complete, not only in here, but also in here, and for everybody concerned. Rather than kids get out of the house, go out and play in the backyard, and the backyard is full of stickers and thistles and bugs and all other kinds of things, and they come flying back in with doggo and traipse all over the brand new carpet, you are going to pull your hair out. So consider jumping on it, and jumping on it fast. You know, the arena of home ownership is something that you voluntarily got involved in. So commit to being a good one right out of the gate. Be a good homeowner, be a responsible homeowner, and make sure that you develop those yards in a nice, tasteful way that reflects well on you and your family, also on the neighborhood as well. Even if it's only turf, even if it's only turf to start with, but you have a plan for later on down the road, it's better than a dirt lot. And besides, once you're doing something, you're not going to get that nag from a spouse or from a mother-in-law or from neighbors. You're getting on it and you're showing responsibility, and that's what every homeowner should strive to do. And let me leave you with this. When you do jump on this, but you have plans that you just can't quite afford right now. Maybe you got a second garage going in the back, or you got a hot tub or a water feature or something that you're going to do down the road when resources come back into your picture. Remember this, plan now for those things then. For instance, water lines underground that are stubbed up and capped, electrical conduit that is put there and capped with a pull string on it. These kinds of things are going to go miles and miles where you're not going to have to tear everything up when that second phase of your development outside comes around. So think about it down the road ahead of time. Although doing a plan or a landscape design is a huge step in the right direction, it is still just markings on paper until you execute and you actually go to that next step and start your initial phase of the project. It's just paper, and I cannot tell you how many hundreds of designs that I have done where people have gone, oh wow, this is so great, God, we love this, and it turns around and goes in the hall closet and never gets done. And I drive by 5 years later, nothing has ever been done. Now granted, maybe there's circumstances that cause them not to do it, but many times, nothing was done because they just didn't know how to pull the trigger. So, what do you think? You think a house to a home is elevated when you do have a nice, well thought out landscape? I'd love to know your comments. And if you have any questions regarding this process, and I hope the wind doesn't blow me away here, about this process, you can always email me at youryardcoach@gmail.com. And if you need a little education, check out the website. It's always right in the link below. I appreciate your time. If you get a little something out of this, hey, buy Coach a cup of joe. That link is in the description below as well. Thanks very much, guys. I will catch up with you next week. Don't forget, Plan of the Week is here. And if you're on the go, try out the podcast. It got very good reviews, in the top 10 landscape podcasts of the entire United States. I'm very, very proud of that, and so is Maestro. I'll catch you guys next Friday. As always, to your landscape success, bye for now.